Power is not claimed, my friends. It is recognized. Those words hit harder than steel, and if you let them sink in, they'll start to change the way you see yourself and the world around you. Because here's the truth. Most men think they lose women because they weren't loving enough, attentive enough, or good enough. But the reality, they didn't lose because of love. They lost because of weakness disguised as love. And that's the lie we're going to break today. Now listen closely, because this isn't just another talk about dating or attraction. This is about power. The kind of silent, unshakable power that turns the game upside down. And before we dive in, take a second right now to press that like button and subscribe. Because if you've ever felt tested, confused, or even betrayed, this is the exact wisdom that will flip the script in your life. Stay with me, because what's coming is not soft. It's not sugar-coated. It's raw. It's real, and it's going to sting before it sets you free. Hey folks, imagine this for a moment. You're a king sitting on your throne. The kingdom is your time, your focus, your energy, your presence. Around you there are courtiers, servants, and allies who want a piece of that power. But somewhere in the hall, silently, a queen walks in. They doesn't shout. They doesn't demand. They simply smiles, maybe makes a small request. And without even realizing it, you step down from your throne, hand over your crown for a moment, and follow her out of the room. Seems harmless, right? But what just happened? You left the throne unattended. The kingdom weakened, and in that simple act, you told her that her whims are stronger than your mission. That, my friends, is how most men collapse, not with loud betrayals, but with small, invisible leaks of power. You think you're being kind, but they's watching your structure bend. You think you're proving love, but they's quietly diagnosing your weakness. Women, whether they admit it or not, are always testing, not because they're cruel, but because they're wired to search for strength. Epictetus once said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." And that's what they's looking for, a man who governs himself so fully no one else can rearrange his world. But here's the fun part. Most guys think they can fake this. They puff their chest, act tough, maybe even throw in some cocky jokes. But women aren't fooled by surface-level bravado. They test with silence, with timing, with subtle pauses. It's like playing chess with someone who never moves a piece directly at your king. They just keep tightening the board until you realize you've already been cornered. And let's be real, my friends. Haven't you been there? Haven't you felt that sting when you answered too quickly, bent too easily, or gave too much of yourself just to keep her smiling? In your mind, it was love. But in her subconscious, it was collapse. They didn't want you to fold. They wanted to feel your spine. They wanted to see if your world runs on her moods or your mission. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." And that's the battlefield here. Not her words, not their actions, but your response. Will you panic when they withdraws? Will you break when they mentions another man? Will you fold when they tease a boundary? Or will you stand still, breathe deep, and let your mission speak louder than her silence? Because here's the secret. When you master this, everything changes. You stop being the man who chases approval, and you become the man who commands respect. You stop being the sandcastle that crumbles when the tide rolls in, and you become the lighthouse, unmoved, guiding, and impossible to ignore. So today, I'm asking you to wake up. Stop believing the lie that kindness alone wins hearts. Stop bending until you break. Start mastering yourself. Start embodying that quiet, unshakable authority that women can't resist. That's real attraction. That's real love. That's real power. Write this in the comments right now. I govern myself. Say it, show it, live it. And don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe, because we're just getting started. Stay with me, my friends. The silent tests are coming, and I'm going to show you exactly how to win. Number 1, they test your attention. Attention is the currency of kings, and the man who spends it carelessly is already bankrupt. My friends, that one line could change the way you see every interaction from now on, because power doesn't begin with muscles, money, or charm. It begins with attention. Where your focus goes, your power flows. And the truth most men don't want to face is this: they keep giving away their crown without even noticing. They give it away the moment they break their own concentration, just to prove they're helpful, just to look good, just to keep someone smiling. Imagine this picture with me. A great warrior is standing in the middle of a battlefield, sword in hand, eyes locked forward. He's focused, breathing steady, prepared for the strike of the enemy. His presence is sharp, every fiber of his being attuned to the mission. Now picture someone walking onto that field, tapping him lightly on the shoulder, saying, "Hey, could you carry this bucket of water for me?" And what does he do? He drops his sword, forgets the battle, grabs the bucket, and follows. Folks, the moment he did that, he didn't just lose his weapon, he lost his command. He showed the whole world that his mission could be hijacked by the smallest request. And isn't that how so many men live? They're working, focused, building something. And then the test comes. Not an explosion, not a crisis, something small. A request, a pause, a question. They don't even see it as a test, but it is. Because here's the truth no one tells you. People, especially those closest to you, will test whether your attention belongs to you or to them. And if they find out your focus can be bought with a smile, broken with a glance, or redirected with a whisper, then, my friends, you've already lost your crown. The fear rises here, because many of you might be asking, but isn't love about being available? Isn't partnership about helping each other? Isn't it weakness if I don't drop everything the second they ask? You see the lie creeping in. You've been told that the way to prove you care is to always bend, to always answer, to always adjust. But that isn't strength. It's surrender. And let me hit you with this truth. The one who cannot govern his own focus will never be trusted to govern anything greater. Think about it. Would you trust a captain who leaves the helm of his ship every time someone on deck calls his name? Would you follow a leader who abandons the mission just to look agreeable? Of course not. Yet this is how men keep betraying themselves. They confuse obedience with kindness. They think being a good man means never saying no, never holding frame, never guarding their throne of attention. And what does it create? Collapse. Quiet, slow collapse. Why is this so difficult? Because we're trained from the beginning to think pleasing others is the key to being valued. As boys, we're rewarded for obedience, praised for being helpful, applauded for being agreeable. That conditioning follows us into manhood, and before we know it, our entire identity is tied to the approval of those around us. So when the silent test comes, the small interruption, the gentle request, we panic inside. We think, if I don't respond right away, they'll think I don't care. If I don't stop what I'm doing, I'll lose them. That's the lie that keeps men weak. But here's the truth. Real strength doesn't apologize for mission. Real love doesn't mean abandoning your throne. It means guarding it so fiercely that others feel safe in your presence, because nothing builds trust faster than knowing a man cannot be swayed by every passing wind. When your focus is unbreakable, your energy becomes magnetic. It communicates, I am in charge of myself. My time is mine. My purpose is mine. My attention is sacred. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That's exactly what this test is about. When you guard your focus, you send a message louder than words. I cannot be moved by every request. I choose where my power flows. And in that choice, you rise above the average. You separate yourself from the weak. You step into kingship. Now let's address the fear directly. Will people get annoyed if you don't drop everything instantly? Yes. Will some think you're cold because you say, "I'll get to it later"? Absolutely. But let me ask you, would you rather be loved as a servant or respected as a king? Would you rather be constantly available, constantly drained, constantly shifting for others? Or would you rather be the one who governs his world, who builds something unshakable, who commands loyalty without begging for it? The answer is clear. And here's the shift, my friends. The next time you're locked into your mission and someone tries to break your focus with something small, breathe. Don't snap. Don't panic. Don't rush to prove you're good. Instead, calmly and firmly hold your ground. Say, "I'll help you in a few minutes." Say it without guilt, without apology, without hesitation. Watch what happens. At first, maybe surprise, maybe annoyance, but beneath it all, respect, quiet, deep respect. Because they just witnessed something rare, a man who doesn't hand over his crown every time someone tugs at it. Folks, this is the first step to real freedom. Guard your attention as if it were gold, because it is. Your focus builds kingdoms. Your focus shapes destiny. Don't waste it proving you're nice. Don't sell it cheap for temporary approval. Protect it. Defend it. Let it declare who you are without you having to explain a thing. Write this in the comments right now. My mission comes first. Show yourself, show the world, show everyone watching that you're done giving your crown away for free, because this is just the beginning. The tests don't stop here. They only get sharper, quieter, more subtle, and in the next step, we'll face an even darker challenge, the ghosts of the past, designed to pull you into insecurity. Stay with me. The battlefield is just heating up. Number 2, they test you with ghosts of the past. Jealousy is the tribute insecurity pays to ghosts. Let that sink in, my friends, because the second you feel that pit in your stomach when someone from the past is mentioned, you're not fighting them, you're fighting shadows. And shadows only have power when you hand them your light. This is one of the most silent, most dangerous tests you'll ever face because it's not loud, it's not obvious. It comes quietly, in the middle of a conversation, in the middle of a smile, and suddenly, there it is. A name, a vague reference, a casual, "I used to talk to someone like that." And just like that, your mind is on fire. Imagine this scene with me. You're sitting across from them at dinner. The mood is light, laughter is flowing, the night feels warm. Then, casually, almost like it means nothing, they say, "Yeah, I used to date a guy like that." They don't linger, they don't make a big deal, they just let it sit there, like a drop of ink in a glass of water. And while they're still smiling, still chewing their food, you're no longer in the same moment. You're spiraling inside. Who was he? Was he better? Was he stronger? Do they still think about him? That's how subtle it is. The battlefield has shifted, and you didn't even notice. You thought you were enjoying the moment, but now you're wrestling with ghosts. And this is exactly the test. Not because they're trying to torment you, not because they're obsessed with the past, but because they're unconsciously measuring your foundation. Can you remain unshaken when your pride is poked? Can you stand still when ambiguity whispers in your ear? Or will you collapse into interrogation, into suspicion, into insecurity? Let's break the lie first. The lie says, if I don't ask questions, if I don't show concern, it means I don't care. That's nonsense. Care is not proven through panic. Care is proven through presence. And presence means staying rooted in who you are, no matter what name or memory is thrown at you. Folks, let me tell you, when you start asking too many questions, when your eyes tighten, when your tone sharpens even slightly, you've already lost. Because you just showed them that your peace can be stolen by someone who isn't even in the room. You showed that your worth isn't anchored, it's floating, waiting for someone else to steady it. Think about a king again. Picture him on his throne, ruling his land. A messenger walks in and whispers, "There used to be another man who sat here before you." Does the king panic? Does he leap off the throne and demand to know every detail? No. He smiles, maybe even laughs, because the very fact that he sits on that throne now is proof of his worth. The past is the past. The crown is on his head today. That's the mindset of a man in command. Why is it so difficult to do this? Because jealousy feels personal. It attacks the deepest part of a man's ego, the fear of not being enough, and that fear is ancient. Back in the earliest days of survival, a man who lost his mate to another man risked losing his legacy, his children, his bloodline. That instinct still lives in you, even though the stakes today aren't life or death. So when they drop a name from the past, your biology screams threat, danger, compete. But the truth is, you're not in competition with anyone. You are either rooted in your identity or you're not. Marcus Aurelius once said, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment." That's the heart of this test. It's not the name that has power, it's the meaning you attach to it. If you treat it as a weapon, it cuts you. If you treat it as dust, it blows away. So what does collapse look like here? Collapse looks like interrogation. Collapse looks like a man who suddenly can't stop asking, who was he? What happened? Do you still think about him? Collapse looks like a man who starts scrolling through her social media later that night, trying to piece together history, comparing himself to shadows. Collapse looks like a man who stops enjoying the evening because he's stuck fighting an enemy that doesn't even exist anymore. And do you know what message that sends? It says, "I don't trust myself. I don't trust my value. I need you to reassure me." That, my friends, is the smell of weakness, and nothing kills attraction faster. Now let's flip it. What does mastery look like? Mastery looks like calm. The name drops, the reference lands, and you smile. You stay where you are. You sip your drink, you lean back, and maybe you say something light, something that re-centers the frame. Poor guy, bet he still thinks about you. And then you move on, not fake moving on, not pretending while your insides burn, but truly unbothered. Because in your mind, the past is not a rival. The past is proof. Proof that every path, every choice, every failed relationship led them right here, to you. That's power, that's sovereignty, that's what Machiavelli meant when he said it is better to be feared than loved, if one cannot be both. Because in that calm indifference, there is a subtle fear. Not fear of you as a tyrant, but fear of losing a man who cannot be moved by ghosts. And that fear breeds respect. That respect blooms into deeper desire. Let me ask you, my friends, do you want to be the man who gets rattled every time the past knocks on the door, or the man who laughs at the knock because he knows the present belongs to him? Do you want to be the man whose peace crumbles at the mention of another, or the man who is so grounded that no name, no shadow, no ghost can shake his throne? The answer is simple, but living it requires discipline. And here's where the motivation kicks in. Stop letting shadows dictate your light. Stop letting the memory of men you've never met control the way you see yourself. If you're sitting here, if you're alive, breathing, building, fighting for your mission, then you are already proof that you are enough. Their past doesn't define your present. Your present defines their future. So the next time a name is dropped, I want you to remember this affirmation. I do not compete with ghosts. Write it in the comments right now. Show yourself, show the world, and remind your own mind that you are not battling shadows. You are living in the now, and the now is yours. But don't get comfortable yet, because if the ghosts of the past are tests of your ego, then silence is the test of your soul. What happens when they don't say anything at all? When the warmth fades, the replies slow, and you're left alone with your thoughts. That, my friends, is the next battlefield, and we're about to step into it. Stay with me. Number 3. They test you with silence. The absence of words is often louder than the presence of them. That one sentence should hit you deep, because it is in the silence where men are truly exposed. My friends, this is one of the hardest trials you'll face, not because it's violent, not because it's dramatic, but because it's quiet. Silence is the battlefield where your mind becomes both your greatest ally and your most vicious enemy. And make no mistake, they know it. They know that words can be debated, that arguments can be defended, but silence forces you to reveal yourself. Picture this with me. You've been texting back and forth with them and everything feels smooth. The emojis are there, the replies come quick, the warmth feels real. And then it changes. Replies slow down. The emojis fade. The once warm tone grows cold. And suddenly you're staring at your phone, waiting, refreshing, wondering. Hours pass. Nothing. Your chest feels heavy. Your mind starts running laps, each thought sharper than the last. Did I say something wrong? Did I lose them? Are they with someone else? This is the silence. This is the test. It seems small, but it's not, because what they're doing, whether consciously or unconsciously, is stepping back to see what you'll do in the void. Will you panic? Will you chase? Will you beg? Or will you remain rooted, calm, immovable? This is not just about them. This is about your relationship with yourself. Because when silence shows up, what gets revealed is not their intentions, it's your structure. Let's break the lie first. The lie says, if I don't immediately check in, if I don't show I care by blowing up their phone, then I'll lose them. That's the script weak men have been following for centuries. They think over-communication equals love. They think persistence equals loyalty. But here's the truth, and it stings. Over-pursuit never creates closeness. It only proves dependence, and dependence is poison to attraction. Think about a flame for a second. If you hold it too tightly, smother it with your hands, it dies. But if you give it room, if you protect it while letting it breathe, it grows. That's exactly how respect and desire work. The man who chases in silence suffocates the flame. The man who holds his frame gives it oxygen. And let me be blunt, my friends, most men fail here. The silence hits, and they can't stand it. They fire off message after message. Are you okay? What's wrong? Did I do something? Each text is a little cut to their own dignity. Each call is another brick pulled from the foundation of their presence. And while they think they're showing care, what they're really showing is collapse. Because the unspoken message is this: I can't handle myself if you're not constantly validating me. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." The silence is the perfect arena to test whether you believe this or not. Because in the silence, you're tempted to make their absence your problem. But a Stoic man knows absence is just space, and space is where he grows. Imagine a fortress for a moment. Tall, unshakable walls, gates closed, guards steady. A storm rolls in. Lightning flatties, thunder shakes the earth. But the fortress stands unmoved. That's what you must be in the silence. Because the storm isn't outside, it's inside you. The storm is your own fear, your own insecurity, your own craving for validation. And when you hold still, when you refuse to let silence hijack your peace, you send a message louder than words. I govern myself. Why is it so difficult? Because silence forces us to confront the truth we've been avoiding. That many men don't actually love. They attach. They don't actually lead. They cling. And when the silence comes, they realize their entire sense of worth was built on constant feedback. That's why this test burns. It strips you bare. It shows you whether your foundation is built on your mission or on their attention. But here's the motivational shift. Silence is not your enemy. Silence is your chance to rise. When they pull back, you step deeper into your world. You pour your energy into your mission, your projects, your body, your friendships, your growth. You don't collapse, you expand. And this paradox is magnetic, because while most men drown in the silence, you thrive in it. And that thriving forces them to reframe you, not as desperate, not as dependent, but as sovereign. Let's be honest, folks. When you stop chasing, when you stop panicking, when you stop letting every unread message dictate your mood, something happens inside of you. You feel different, stronger, clearer. You realize that silence was never about them. It was about you. And when you master yourself in the quiet, you become unshakable in the storm. Machiavelli understood this principle better than most. He said, "Men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand, for everyone can see and few can feel." In silence, they can't feel your love, your desperation, your longing. They can only see your reaction. And if what they see is panic, need, collapse, then you've shown weakness without ever saying a word. But if what they see is calm, focus, mission, laughter, progress, then you've shown them strength that no silence can break. So what do you do the next time it happens? Simple. You breathe. You stay rooted. You don't send 10 texts in a row. You don't chase. You let the silence breathe, and in that breathing space, you live your life with even more intensity. When you do reply, it's short, firm, confident, something like, "I'm here when you're ready." That's it. No pleading, no desperation, just calm sovereignty. That line alone tells the whole story. I'm present, but I'm not chasing. I'm available, but I'm not dependent. I govern myself. Folks, this is where you separate yourself from the masses. The average man gets eaten alive by silence. But you use it as a forge. You let the quiet sharpen you. You let the absence remind you that you are enough even when no one is clapping for you, even when no one is texting you, even when no one is validating you. That is the essence of power, self-generated worth. So let me leave you with this. The silence will come, and when it does, remember, it's not a void, it's an invitation to prove to yourself and to the world that you are a man who doesn't crumble when the noise stops. You are a man who thrives in the stillness, and that, my friends, is magnetic beyond words. Write this in the comments right now. I thrive in silence. Let it echo through you. Let it declare your sovereignty. Let it remind you that your mission is louder than any pause, stronger than any absence, deeper than any test. But don't relax yet, because if silence is the test of your soul, the next one cuts even deeper. It's not about absence. It's about presence, not in private, but in public, when the spotlight is on you, when the room is watching, when the subtle challenge is thrown your way in front of others. What will you do? That, my friends, is the next battlefield. Stay with me, because it only gets sharper from here. Number 4, they test you in public. A man's true strength is not revealed in solitude, but under the gaze of the crowd. Think about that for a second, my friends. It's easy to feel powerful when you're alone in your room, reading quotes, lifting weights, or practicing stoic calm. But the moment you step into the world, the moment people are watching, that's when the real test begins. And make no mistake, they know this. They know that pressure in public exposes cracks that never appear in private. That's why one of the most subtle yet devastating tests comes not when you're alone with them, but when you're surrounded by others. Picture this. You're at a dinner table with friends, maybe at a party, maybe just out with a group. The atmosphere is light, laughter bouncing around the room, everyone relaxed. Then it happens. They look at you, smirk, and drop a line. Maybe it's a playful jab at a decision you made. Maybe it's a sarcastic comment about your habits. Maybe it's a little tease about how you handled something. It's not cruel, not direct, not a full-scale attack, just enough to sting, just enough to put the spotlight on you. And here's the trap. The crowd laughs. The group looks at you. Now all eyes are on you. In that split second, everything hangs in the balance. Because this isn't just a joke. This is a silent probe, a test. They're not testing whether you can take a joke. They're testing whether your power holds when others are watching. Do you fold? Do you defend? Do you retreat into awkward silence? Or do you command the moment with calm, immovable presence? The weak response is predictable. The average man either laughs nervously, as if to say, "I'm okay with being the butt of the joke," or he scrambles to defend himself. He over-explains. He justifies. He tries to smooth over the situation, desperate to win back approval. And in that instant, the frame shifts. He's no longer the leader of his own world. He's the entertainer, the pleaser, the one who needs validation from the group. To the untrained eye, it seems harmless, but to the subconscious, the verdict is brutal. Collapse. Folks, let's break the lie right here. The lie says, if I don't explain myself, if I don't prove I can take a joke, people won't respect me. Wrong. Respect isn't earned by groveling or justifying, it's earned by presence. Presence that says, I don't need to win you over. I don't need to argue for my place here. I am enough without defense. That's the real test. Let's make this even clearer with a metaphor. Imagine a lion sitting in the middle of a clearing. A group of smaller animals circle around, barking, making noise, trying to provoke him. The lion doesn't chase every sound. He doesn't snap at every movement. He sits, calm, regal, unmoved, and the silence of his indifference terrifies them more than any roar ever could. That's power. That's presence. Now think about how most men handle these moments. They hear the tease and immediately flinch. Their eyes dart. Their body shifts. They raise their voice to defend themselves. They look around the table for approval, and what they don't realize is that every move is a signal that they can be rattled, that their frame is fragile, that they'll trade respect for a cheap laugh. And folks, attraction does not grow in fragility. So what does mastery look like? Mastery looks like a steady smile, direct eye contact, no rush to defend. Maybe even a playful, calm response that flips the script. Something simple like, noted. Or, with a smirk, I prefer making my own mistakes. No defensiveness, no sharpness, just calm authority. And then you move on. You don't let the moment drag. You don't scramble for recovery. You let the silence speak. Because here's the secret. When you hold your ground in public, it's not just them watching. Everyone else in the room is watching too, and people can feel it. They can feel whether you're a fortress or a sandcastle. And when they see you unshaken, something shifts in the air. Respect. Quiet, unspoken respect. Not just from them, but from everyone. Machiavelli once said, "It is not titles that honor men, but men who honor titles." In public, you don't need to defend your title, your reputation, your pride. You honor yourself simply by holding frame, by refusing to be baited into weakness. That's the difference between the man who gets laughed at and the man who gets remembered. Let's get real for a moment. Why is this test so brutal? Because deep down, men fear public embarrassment more than private pain. The fear of losing face, of being seen as weak in front of others, is primal. Back in tribal times, your status in the group determined your survival. To be humiliated was to risk exile. That instinct still lives in your veins. That's why your heart races when the group laughs. That's why your palms sweat when the spotlight hits. But remember, this isn't about the tribe anymore. This is about your frame, and your frame only cracks if you let it. Here's the motivational shift, my friends. These public tests are opportunities. Opportunities to show not only them, but yourself, that your identity doesn't waver under pressure, that you can be teased, mocked, challenged, and still stand tall, that you don't need the approval of the tribe because you approve of yourself, and that, paradoxically, is what makes the tribe respect you. Think back to the lion. The silence of his stillness commands more fear and respect than 1,000 roars. That's the energy you bring. You don't overperform. You don't rush to win. You sit in the moment, calm and confident, and let the room adjust to you. That's leadership. That's magnetism. And here's the kicker. When you master this, something shifts in them too. The playful jab that was meant to unsettle you becomes a mirror. Instead of you being rattled, they're rattled. They expected flinch, collapse, defense. But what they got was calm authority. And that calmness unsettles them in the best way. It stirs respect. It ignites curiosity. It deepens attraction. Because they just saw something rare, a man who doesn't fold when the crowd is watching. So let me ask you, my friends, will you be the man who scrambles to explain himself, who trades dignity for approval? Or will you be the man who smiles, holds his ground, and lets his presence do the talking? The choice is yours, but the impact is massive. Here's your affirmation for this battlefield. I hold my frame in public. Write it in the comments right now. Show yourself, show the world, show everyone watching that your power is not private. It's consistent, it's public, it's unshakable. But don't relax yet, because if public testing is about your strength under the eyes of others, the next trial cuts even deeper. It's not about jokes, not about jabs, it's about the tenderest part of you. The quiet question, the soft gaze, the invitation to open up your emotions. Will you collapse into oversharing or shutting down, or will you master the paradox of vulnerability and strength? That, my friends, is the next battlefield. Stay with me. Number 5. They test you with vulnerability. He who opens his heart without guarding it hands over the keys to his kingdom. My friends, this one is subtle, and it can undo even the strongest of men. Because it doesn't come with jokes, it doesn't come with silence, it doesn't even come with ghosts of the past. It comes wrapped in softness, in tenderness, in the quiet invitation of a question that seems innocent but carries enormous weight. Are you really okay? You seem different lately. What's on your mind? Now, on the surface, this seems harmless. It even feels good. Someone cares, someone wants to listen. But make no mistake, this is not small talk. This is a probe, a test to see what lies beneath your armor. And the question is not simply what you will say, but how you will say it. Will you collapse, pouring out your doubts, your fears, your insecurities, hoping to be comforted? Will you retreat, shutting down and locking your heart so tightly that nothing can come out? Or will you walk the razor's edge, the balance between strength and openness, between honesty and control? Let's picture it. You've had a long week. Maybe work's been heavy. Maybe life's been grinding you down. Maybe you're just exhausted. They notice. They lean in. Their tone softens. Their eyes search your face. You okay? You seem stressed. And now the battlefield opens. Most men don't see it. They think it's just concern. But what's really happening here is an audit. They're testing whether you can be vulnerable without being weak, whether you can share without surrendering, whether your emotions serve you or enslave you. This is where men make their biggest mistake. The weak man, desperate for validation, spills everything. He unloads all his fears, all his struggles, all his pain. He treats the moment not as a chance for connection, but as a chance for rescue. And in doing so, he communicates one devastating truth. I cannot carry my own burden. I need you to carry it for me. At first, maybe they comfort, maybe they listen. But deep in their subconscious, something shifts. They don't see strength in that. They see instability. And instability is not attractive. It's frightening. On the other side of the spectrum, there's the man who shuts down completely. The man who, when asked if he's okay, forces a smile and says, "I'm fine." He doesn't let anyone in. He thinks this is strength, but it isn't. It's fear. Fear of being seen. Fear of exposure. Fear of losing control. And this too creates collapse, because while the oversharer communicates weakness, the closed-off man communicates emptiness. He becomes a fortress so sealed that no one feels safe inside. So what does mastery look like? Mastery looks like balance, controlled vulnerability, precision. You share, but you do not collapse. You open, but you do not spill. You reveal a piece of yourself, but you frame it in strength. For example, when asked if you're okay, you might say, "Yeah, I've been carrying some heavy stuff this week, but I'm focused on solutions." Or, "I get tired sometimes, but it doesn't change the mission I'm building." That, my friends, is power. It's not denial, it's not weakness, it's calibrated honesty that communicates both depth and stability. Think of it like this. Imagine a general standing before his soldiers. The battle has been long, the nights cold, the supplies low. The men are weary and they look to him. If he collapses, sobbing, spilling all his fears, the army breaks. If he pretends nothing's wrong, acting robotic, the army feels disconnected, abandoned. But if he says, "Yes, it's hard, I feel it too, but we are strong enough to endure, and I know where we're going," the men rally. That's the line. That's the balance. That's leadership. And this is what they're searching for. Not perfection, not emotional numbness, not overexposure. They're searching for a man who can be both fortress and garden, a man who can show humanity without surrendering strength, a man who can say, "I feel," without saying, "I'm lost." Why is this test so hard? Because society has sold men a false choice. On one side, the culture says, "Be vulnerable, open up completely, pour out your soul." On the other side, tradition says, "Be stoic, never show emotion, never reveal anything." Both extremes are lies. Both extremes destroy attraction. Real stoicism is not the absence of emotion, it's mastery of it. It's the ability to own your feelings without being owned by them. Seneca wrote, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor." Apply this to emotion. It's not the man who feels emotion that is weak. It's the man who craves emotional rescue that collapses. Power is in the man who feels deeply but stands firmly, who can open his heart while still guarding the keys to his kingdom. Let's be blunt. Oversharing is begging for rescue. Shutting down is begging for distance. But controlled vulnerability, that's magnetic. That's the paradox they crave. It makes them feel included in your inner world without drowning in it. It shows that you trust them enough to let them in, but that your core remains unshakable. That's where attraction deepens into loyalty. Now, some of you might be wondering, why does this matter so much? Why is it a test at all? Because deep down, they want to know if you can carry not only your own storms, but theirs too. If you collapse under your own emotions, how can they trust you to handle theirs? If you never open at all, how can they feel safe sharing with you? They're not looking for perfection. They're looking for structure, for strength that breathes, for authority that also holds space. So how do you pass this test? When they ask, don't run, don't dump, don't hide, breathe. Share a piece of your truth with calm, with brevity, with control. Something like, "Yeah, I've had some challenges, but I'm handling them." Or, "I've been thinking deeply about a few things, but it's making me sharper." That's enough. That communicates both honesty and sovereignty. And the unspoken message is this: I feel, but I govern my feelings. I hurt, but I remain whole. I bend, but I do not break. My friends, this is where real connection is built. When you show strength in vulnerability, you invite them into a partnership, not a parent-child dynamic. You invite them into respect, not rescue, and that is irresistible. So let me ask you, are you the man who collapses into oversharing? Are you the man who hides behind walls of silence? Or are you the man who reveals just enough to connect, but never enough to surrender? That choice defines not just attraction, but legacy. Here's your affirmation for this battlefield. I master my emotions. Write it in the comments right now. Show yourself, show the world, show everyone watching that you're done collapsing into weakness or hiding behind stone walls. You are the man who feels but governs, who opens but never breaks, who leads with strength and depth. But don't relax yet. Because if vulnerability tests the balance between your heart and your spine, the next test cuts into something even harder: your boundaries. What happens when they don't just probe your emotions, but push directly against the limits you've set? Do you hold firm, or do you cave? That, my friends, is the next battlefield. Stay with me. The storm is about to get heavier. Number 6. They test your boundaries. The man who cannot say no has already said yes to his own destruction. Let that truth hit you like a hammer, my friends, because every man thinks he's strong until his limits are pressed. Every man imagines he's disciplined until someone close to him puts against the wall he swore could never be crossed. And this is where the silent war intensifies. Not through teasing, not through ghosts, not through silence, but through pressure on your boundaries. Picture this. You've laid out a rule for yourself, something that protects your mission, your time, your dignity. Maybe it's as simple as, I don't answer calls after 10 p.m. because I need to focus on my rest. Or, I can't loan money because my finances are strictly for my priorities. Or, I can't drop work obligations just to hang out. You've said it calmly, clearly. The boundary is there. And then, it happens. A little push, a small request, a playful comment. Come on, just this once. Don't be so serious. It's not a big deal. Now, in that moment, your body feels torn in two. One side whispers, stick to your guns, hold the line, prove you are unshakable. But the other side screams, if I don't bend, they'll think I don't care. If I say no, they'll be disappointed. If I resist, I might lose them. And right there, right in that tug of war, the true measure of your strength is revealed. Because here's the brutal truth. The weak man caves. He convinces himself it's love. He tells himself it's compromise. He masks collapse with the language of care. But every time he says yes when he means no, every time he bends just to avoid discomfort, he chisels away at his own spine. He doesn't see it immediately, but slowly, piece by piece, his self-respect erodes. And do you know what happens when you don't respect yourself? No one else will either. The lie men believe here is insidious. The lie says, if I give in, they'll appreciate me more. If I bend, it shows I'm kind. If I sacrifice, it proves I love them. But let me tell you something. They may smile in the moment, they may even thank you, but deep inside, something shifts. They stop seeing you as a fortress. They start seeing you as clay. And clay may be moldable, but it is never worshipped. Clay is reshaped until it loses its form. Think of it like a dam holding back a raging river. The water putties, surges, pounds against the concrete. Day after day, the force tests it. If the dam holds, everyone downstream is safe. They trust it. They build around it. But if the dam cracks, if the dam gives in just once, the flood wipes everything away. That's exactly what happens when you collapse under boundary pressure. One crack, and the floodgates of disrespect open wide. So why do men fail here? Because they fear rejection. They believe love is maintained by constant accommodation. They're terrified of disappointment. They want to be the good guy who never says no. And yet, every yes against their own will is another brick in the prison of weakness. And weakness is never loved. It is pitied at best, despised at worst. Marcus Aurelius said, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." Boundaries are not about control, they're about truth, your order, your structure. And when you betray that truth, you betray yourself, and betrayal of self is the deepest cut a man can inflict. Let's examine collapse. The man who gives in too easily thinks he's avoiding conflict, but what he's really doing is teaching everyone around him that his words mean nothing. He teaches them that his no is negotiable. He trains them to push harder, to expect more, to know that eventually he will bend, and over time that bending turns him into exactly what he never wanted to be: invisible. A man whose presence no longer commands respect because his boundaries are paper thin. Now picture mastery, the man who sets a line and holds it, calmly, firmly, without apology. They push, they tease, they plead. But his answer is the same: no. Not with anger, not with cruelty, just with quiet certainty. And here's the paradox: they may be annoyed in the moment, they may pout, they may even protest, but deep down, deep in their bones, they respect him more, because he proved what most men cannot, that his integrity is worth more than their approval. Think of a tree standing in a storm. The wind howls, the rain lathes, branches bend, but the trunk does not move. Season after season, storm after storm, it remains. That tree becomes a symbol of safety, of consistency, of unshakable presence. That's what you become when your boundaries hold firm. You stop being clay, you become stone. And let's be clear, holding boundaries doesn't mean shutting everyone out. It doesn't mean being cruel. It doesn't mean never adjusting. It means choosing. It means living by order, not by whim. It means letting people know that your yes means something, because your no means something too. And that, my friends, is what makes people trust you. Machiavelli once wrote, "It is much safer to be feared than loved, if one must choose." But here's the deeper truth. When you hold your boundaries, you don't just gain fear or love, you gain respect. And respect is the soil from which both love and loyalty grow. So let me challenge you directly. How many times have you said yes when you wanted to say no? How many times have you let guilt talk you into betraying yourself? How many times have you called it compromise when it was really collapse? Be honest with yourself, because every man remembers the sting of those moments, the times when he gave in, only to lie awake at night, hating himself for it. That's the price of boundary failure, self-loathing. And nothing kills a man's spirit faster than that. But here's the good news. You can rise. You can reclaim your boundaries. You can decide today that your no will no longer tremble, that your walls will no longer crack under pressure. And when you do, something changes in your soul. You stand taller, you breathe deeper, you stop fearing rejection because you realize rejection is better than self-betrayal. Folks, let me tell you, there is nothing more magnetic than a man whose boundaries are real, because people can feel it. They can feel the gravity of someone who cannot be moved by manipulation, guilt, or charm. That gravity pulls respect out of others, and that respect creates attraction stronger than any smile, stronger than any gesture, stronger than any gift. So the next time the test comes, when they push against your line, breathe. Remember this: every no you hold is not a rejection of them. It's a declaration of you. It's proof that your structure is intact, that your kingdom is guarded, that your throne is not for sale. Write this in the comments right now. My boundaries are immovable. Show yourself, show the world, and show everyone watching that you are done bending for approval, done collapsing for comfort, done betraying yourself for temporary peace. You are the man who stands firm, who protects his throne, who commands respect without raising his voice. But don't get comfortable yet, because if boundaries test your ability to hold firm under pressure, the next battlefield is even more relentless. It's not about the one moment, the one push, the one test. It's about time. It's about whether your strength holds not for a day, not for a week, but for months, years, a lifetime. That, my friends, is the test of consistency, and it's coming next. Stay with me. Number 7. They test your consistency. A man is not judged by what he does once, but by what he does every day. My friends, this is the battlefield that swallows most men whole. They can hold attention for a moment. They can pass the test of silence one night. They can even stand strong in public once or twice. But over time, over weeks, months, years, that's when the cracks show, because anyone can look powerful in a single moment. But power isn't proven in moments, it's proven in patterns. Consistency is the final trial. It's the long game. It's the test that doesn't announce itself with drama or sudden shifts. It's quiet, it's patient, and it's deadly, because they are always watching, not just how you act when the spotlight's on you, but how you live when you think no one notices. They're asking, do you keep your word? Do you live your mission even on days you don't feel like it? Does your frame hold when the world isn't testing you directly, but when time itself wears you down? Imagine this. A man builds a magnificent statue in the town square. For a week it's glorious. People gather around, take pictures, admire the craftsmanship. But after a year, the stone begins to crack, the paint begins to peel, the foundation begins to crumble because it wasn't built to last. That's how most men live. They can be impressive for a season, but not for a lifetime. Their boundaries hold for a month. Their frame holds for a year, and then slowly they let comfort rot them from the inside. And here's the brutal truth. They don't test your power with one question or one silence or one push. They test it by watching your habits. They watch how you wake up every morning. They notice if your words match your actions. They notice if your promises turn into dust or if they turn into structure. They notice if the man they met a year ago is the same man they see today, or if he's already faded into someone weaker. The lie men believe here is dangerous. The lie says, if I make a strong impression in the beginning, if I prove myself once, I've secured respect forever. Wrong. Respect doesn't stick. It has to be fed. It has to be maintained. Just like a fire. You can light it once, but if you don't keep feeding it wood, it dies. And when it dies, no one remembers the warmth you once gave. They only feel the cold you left behind. Let's break it down. Collapse in consistency looks like this. A man starts strong. He's disciplined, he's focused, he's magnetic, but slowly comfort creeps in. He skips one workout, then 2, then 3. He cuts corners at work. He starts saying yes to things he once said no to. He lets his mission fade into background noise. And while he may not notice at first, they do. They see the decline. They feel the drift. And deep in their subconscious, respect withers. Because consistency is what tells them you are real. Inconsistency whispers that you were only performing. But mastery is the man who does what he says, day after day, year after year. Not perfectly, not robotically, but with unwavering commitment. He may stumble, but he doesn't collapse. He may get tired, but he returns to his path. His presence is not a performance, it's his nature. And that, my friends, is rare. That is magnetic. Because deep inside, everyone wants to know, can I trust this person to remain who they say they are? not just for a week, but for a lifetime. Marcus Aurelius said, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be one." That's the essence of consistency. Stop making declarations and start living disciplines. Stop saying you'll change and start proving it daily. Stop thinking one strong act erases 100 weak ones. It doesn't. Your power is not built in speeches, it's built in routines, in habits, in what you choose when no one is clapping, when no one is watching, when no one is testing you directly. And let's be real, it's hard. Because consistency is boring. It's not glamorous. It's not a grand gesture. It's showing up every day for your mission, even when you don't feel like it. It's saying no to distractions not once, but 1,000 times. It's keeping your word when no one else remembers what you promised. That's why so few men pass this test. They confuse intensity with consistency. They can burn bright for a moment, but they can't hold the flame steady for years. Think of a lighthouse. It doesn't shine once and then fade. It shines every night, storm after storm, season after season. And because it shines consistently, sailors trust it. They build their journeys around it. That's what you must become, a lighthouse, not a firework that dazzles for a moment and disappears, but a steady flame that never goes out. And here's the paradox, my friends. When you master consistency, the tests stop feeling like tests, because they realize you're not performing for them, you're performing for yourself. Your mission isn't about approval, it's about alignment. And when they see that, when they see that you live by standards that don't shift with moods or temptations, their respect deepens into something permanent. Attraction born from consistency is not fleeting, it's enduring. So ask yourself right now, are you consistent or are you just intense in bursts? Do you keep your boundaries every day or only when it's convenient? Do you stay rooted in silence every time or only when you feel strong? Do you live by mission as a lifestyle or do you treat it as a mood? Be honest, because this is the crucible. This is where most men are separated from legends. The path is simple, but not easy. You start small. You create habits that align with your mission. You keep promises to yourself first, because if you can't trust your own word, why should anyone else? You guard your routines like a king guards his treasury. And when temptation comes, when comfort whispers, when laziness knocks, you remind yourself, every crack today becomes collapse tomorrow, and then you stand firm. Remember this, people don't fall in love with fireworks, they fall in love with the sun, because the sun rises every day without fail. That's consistency, that's trust, that's what creates unshakable respect. So write this in the comments right now. I am consistent. Declare it. Show yourself, show the world, show everyone watching that you will not be a man of empty bursts. You will be a man of enduring flame. A man whose word is law not for a moment, but for a lifetime. And if this message hit you hard, if you felt the truth of it in your chest, then I want you to take action. Don't just nod. Don't just think about it. Press that like button right now, subscribe to the channel, and share this with another man who needs to hear it. Because this world doesn't need more performers. It needs more fortresses, more lighthouses, more men of consistency. This is how you win the silent war. Not by shouting, not by begging, not by collapsing, but by becoming the kind of man who cannot be moved. Stay with me, my friends, because this journey has just begun. And the man you are becoming, he will be unstoppable.